Well, let's call to order of our meeting of the Design and Review Board, Monday, October 5th at 5:30. Let's do a roll call. I believe we have a quorum of members, I believe. So, Anka, you're here, obviously. Polly, I see you. Kate, Catherine, there you are. And Elaine, I see you as well. So, with that being said, that's our body, and we don't need any alternates, but thank you. And I believe we'll just get right into the discussion and possible action of application ZC 20-09 of Mark and Ika Scully. It's regarding the site plan approval to install solar carports at the property located at 690 Hop Meadow Street.
So, Steve,
Yeah.
the applicant, unfortunately, their architect
Fiora
joined the meeting.
Did not complete the plans as intended. So they're asking for this application to be postponed to your next meeting.
Yeah, we'll just table it.
Okay.
All right.
You don't have to take any action. No, you don't have to take any an action on that.
Okay. Then we will move along to application ZC-20-10 of 9 through 15 Albany Turnpike LLC. Owner Kevin Soley, agent for site plan approval for the development of 9 through 15 Albany Turnpike, including a gas station / convenience store, an electric vehicle showroom, and service component with the associated parking and a B3 zone. Is anyone here to speak on behalf of the applicant?
I am attorney David Markowitz.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be before you. It'd be nice to be before you in person, but it is what it is, right?
Yes, it is. So do you want to give us a quick overrun? We do have the supporting documents. And I do know that we're really just talking about the northeast corner, I believe, which is the rear corner of the property.
That's
What pertains
correct.
to us.
With me today is Chris Milliard. He's our architect from
Phase Zero.
Phase Zero. He did the
Great job.
He did the EV showroom, which is in both Canton and Simsbury. The east part of the building is what is in Simsbury, but obviously you'll be looking at the entire building. Our professional engineer, Kevin Solly, I don't see him on yet, he just got on, is joining us if you have any questions about the site plan. Obviously, we filed the site plan application to the Simsbury Zoning Commission. So with that, I'll let Kevin just take over briefly and describe what we're doing. And then if you have any questions, you can address them to Chris.
I'm not sure if Kevin has audio yet. I see that he's still connecting in that aspect.
Yeah, I'm not even sure he's hearing me.
Or he's ignoring you. It's definitely one of those.
Well, hopefully not.
Kevin Solar.
Joined the meeting.
Oh. Hi, Kevin. Can you hear us?
I can. Hello.
Hi, welcome. My name's
Joined the meeting.
And David had just introduced you to give us an overview of the site plan.
Wonderful. Hang on one second. Actually, if you could, there we go. I'm already a presenter. Thank you so much. And I have apologized for being a few minutes late.
Maybe as
There we
Kevin
go.
is okay.
Sorry about that. Good evening, members of the board. For the record, my name is Kevin Soley. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Soley Engineering. Office is located at 501 Main Street in Monroe, Connecticut. So we're here tonight to talk about a project at 9 and 15 Albany Turnpike. So just to orient everyone, here's just an aerial of the town of Simsbury. This site's located just on the town line with Canton and just kind of north of where we intersect with Avon. So it's kind of right at this location here, down right on Albany Turnpike. So the site's comprised of two parcels, but so here's the aerial. You can see Best Buy's here. The former La Trattoria restaurant is located just off the property here. And you can see the town line runs through these properties. And actually a very small portion of the site, at least along Route 44, is actually located within Simsbury. But we're here to talk about a proposed application to construct two pretty excited uses, I think, for the property. We're proposing a gas station convenience use entirely within Canton, and an electric vehicle showroom and service center, which is actually going to be constructed straddling the town line of Simsbury and Canton. Majority of the development is actually entirely within Canton, but we do have a small portion of the developed area within Simsbury. So from a designer view standpoint, I think Chris Milliard might be with us as well from Phase Zero. Chris, are you here?
He is on, Kevin. I don't know whether he's on.
I'm here. I'm here. Took me a minute to find the unmute button.
There he is. Great. Thanks, Chris. So what we're proposing, so Chris will be able to talk through some of the architecture, but I wanted to kind of run through the proposed site plan component, at least to start, and some of our landscape features. And then, Chris, I have all of your beautiful renderings and such incorporated to the presentation, so I'll be able to run through those, and you can certainly speak to them. So again, it's a very small portion of the site. It's actually located within Simsbury. We do have a pretty robust landscape plan that we prepared in accordance with both the town of Canton and the town of Simsbury requirements. We've been focused on trying to enhance some of the aesthetics from the front, and then within the site itself, we actually have some pretty robust landscaped areas. For the proposed electric vehicle showroom and service, we're really excited about this design, and the whole project as a whole is really kind of designed with the future of transportation in mind. So what this electrical vehicle showroom will be is essentially an opportunity for a number of the different electrical vehicle manufacturers, Rivian, Boynton, some of the other names that you may not be too familiar with. As they start to ramp up more, they'd be able to come in and occupy this building with a couple of different, kind of mixed with a number of different tenants. And anyone looking for an electric vehicle will be able to come to this showroom. They'll be able to see and feel all the different types of models that are available from the different manufacturers. And then there'll also be service on site as well. So when, from a design standpoint, it was designed to provide for 2 stories of showroom. So this is the floor plan which represents, this is the large showroom, which is along the front of the site, and then a 1-story maintenance service area. And this section is actually really what's entirely located within the town of Simsbury, but we're obviously going to be talking about the entire building and the entire site. So in addition to the first floor showroom, we have an entrance to the service area here, another egress from the service area out in this location here, and we have a collection of electric vehicle charging stations right along this front facade. And then up on the second floor, providing for an additional showroom, which essentially is each floor of the showroom is designed to house 2 different electric vehicle manufacturers. So, Chris, I have your just for your architectural elevations through the presentation, but I can either hand it off to you to talk through some of these, or I can go right to the renderings and the model that you pulled together, which kind of really do a really good job of explaining and showing what Chris's goals were from the design of the building standpoint.
Yeah, I agree, Kevin. I think the renderings are much easier to view, and I think through the Zoom meeting, the resolution is a little challenging to see those 2D elevations. So yeah, I think these are much easier to review and see for everyone on the Zoom call. So yeah, I'll kind of take it from there and go through the building design. Essentially what we're looking at here is the view from Albany Turnpike on the Simsbury side of the building, kind of looking up the hill, up the rock face towards the building. As you can see, there'd be some landscaping, some cut and fill on the site to make this building happen. But ideally, what we're looking at here is you'll see a little bit of that rock face remaining at the street level. And then as you look up that rock face is where we will have our new electric vehicle showroom and service area perched on top of those rocks. Everything pretty much on the left side, the two-story portion, as Kevin had mentioned, is almost entirely in Canton. And then the single story that's more or less behind the building is the portion that's on the Simsbury town line or across the Simsbury town line. So I don't know if everyone wants to go through the entire building or we just want to look at and focus on what's in Simsbury. Ideally, though, the Simsbury portion of it is really just the service center. It's behind the building. It's really not the main attraction of the building, but we wanted to make sure it blended in, obviously, with the architecture of the building, so it wasn't kind of alienated if for those views where you did see part of the service center. Again, it's more of a utilitarian portion of the building, so we wanted to make sure that it remains functional, it remains good access for servicing vehicles, but we included some clear story lighting around the perimeter of the service area, so that way it brings light into the space. This view that you can see now on your screen is a view from the Canton side looking at the service or at the showroom. Basically what we're trying to do is, as Kevin mentioned, is there's technically 4 different manufacturers that would be displayed in this building. So those 4 would be separated into each of their own quadrant of the building, 2 on the first floor and then 2 on the second floor. And ideally, the showroom is supposed to be basically a jewel box for automobiles, so that those automobiles are high visibility on display and well lit inside. This view here is a view of the back. So on the left side, that is the service garage entrance for customers as they come in, where that white car is parked. Ideally, a customer could come in, park their car there, walk in and say, okay, I'm here for my 8 o'clock appointment. And then one of the techs can take the car and pull it into the garage. To the left side where we have that covered canopy, that's the EV charging stations that Kevin mentioned, where again, customers can pull in and charge their vehicle. The right side where it says sign, obviously that's just a placeholder for some type of branding that will be approved in the future. But the idea of that right area with the wood paneling and the glass wall, that would become the main entrance into the vehicle showroom. This view is just another view kind of showing a little bit more of that side of the building. To the right of this view is where we have a garage door, overhead door for vehicles to come in, enter into the building, and they can enter into that elevator that will either distribute the car to the main level or to the mezzanine level for the showroom.
Chris, can I interrupt for one quick second?
Absolutely.
Could you just designate where the property line is? Because I believe this signage is in Canton, correct?
That's correct. So the property line goes right, pretty much splits the building in half, right where it changes between a single story to a 1-story building.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were on the same, what our purview is.
Right. So Honestly, if you want, we can completely ignore the two-story portion. What we would really need to see is the portion of the building to the left. So
Well,
there's
that's
that.
what we have oversight of. So probably I'm glad you showed the whole plan because you need it to be able to visualize it as a whole. But yeah, we definitely want to center on what we do have the purview of.
Great. Okay. Well, there's not too much more to say, I guess. There is a roof terrace on that single-story space, which is the service garage. That roof terrace obviously is accessed from the second floor, and it gives you views, I think, over, kind of over Albany Ave, as you can look down Albany Ave, and then of course the rock face at the back of the property that will remain, which I believe is kind of an attraction of the site. It's certainly been an important piece of Canton and just their town pride. So ideally, we want to keep that rock face and make sure that it remains visible to residents and, of course, anyone who's at the showroom. So we have the roof terrace. The idea is that right now we're thinking it might be a green roof off of that roof terrace, again, just so it feels a little more comfortable, a little more pedestrian friendly while you're on that rooftop patio.
I have a question.
Yes.
Could you show on the map that I think you're Chris, that Kevin showed, like how much of the property, how far back this is going? That map you had of the, where the.
This is
Canton,
it,
Simsbury. Yeah, that map. How far back does it go in that property from Albany Ave?
It's
think
very
Chris,
close.
The one before, actually, if we show Polly what the lines mean, showed it better. Polly, do you see?
No, I want to see it from the
line that goes through the building.
No. I want to see what the one he just showed with the
So if you can see here, you see where Best Buy is, the limit of this building here, and you see this angle in the property line.
Yep.
So when we go over to the site plan, you can see that same angle here, and this is the limit of the Best Buy building. So we're actually not even as far back as the furthest corner of that Best Buy building, to give you an idea of the overall depth.
Yeah, and then let me go back. So it would be just like well, you can't see what I'm pointing at. Just along the edge of the road, maybe, I don't know, how many yards back is it all from the road?
Our total depth, I would probably, I'd estimate that to be probably, maybe 200 feet.
Okay. Do you have plans to develop the rest of the property behind it?
So we have been, the property owner has been in active conversations to pursue possibly some multifamily development further back into the property.
Okay.
So the balance of this ridge, essentially what would happen is, if anyone's familiar with the property, which I'm sure you are, the site does come up pretty quickly. So this would kind of act as a longer driveway to get up to that higher elevation. And then we'd be looking to potentially pursue some sort of multifamily development towards the rear of the site. Additionally, the property owner does own some adjacent property or is under contract to purchase some adjacent property. So there's an opportunity to kind of create a larger multifamily development up to the top. And I think there's been some conversations with staff and planning and zoning about that as a potential option to pursue the balance of the site to be developed.
Ollie, to answer your question, there's a phase 2.
Okay, I just wanted to understand, we're
There's
going
a
in
phase
for now, and then we're going to go
deeper later.
Into the,
Yep.
at another, Is there an estimation, Mike, on the timeline for that?
I would defer to Mr. Correa or Mr. Greenberg, but or Attorney Markowitz really, they're in negotiations. They're planning that out as we speak.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Chris, was that the bulk of your presentation? Can you do you have any details as far as landscape treatment or plantings? And also, is there any close-up of the panel that is cloaking the exterior of the building so we can better see that?
Uh, I don't believe I have any close-ups on the panel material.
What is the panel material, if you don't mind?
We talked about that here. We talked about it being a some type of metal paneling. However, I've been looking at different manufacturers over the past few days, and there's some that I like more than others. Another one I was looking at actually had the panel rotated at a 45 degree, and you know, it had a better, I think, a better aesthetics to it. So I could probably pull up a website that I was looking at if that's possible. I don't know if that's easily done. I could show you an image of the panel that I'm most recently been reviewing in terms of this building facade.
Well, seeing as that's the main streetscape from our angle, that's
Right.
you
And
know,
actually,
it's
Kevin,
relevant.
did we had a sheet with materials on it?
We do. I do
There is-
have that here. It's our elevations. Let me share those.
Yeah, this shows the metal cladding, the second image from the top right there, second image in from the right, on the right side there, Kevin. But it's a very generic image right now. That's kind of what we had drawn those renderings based off of, is just a simple metal panel that's broken up into kind of like a different scale block. However, most recently I was looking at some other materials that I was more interested in, and I thought were a little more aesthetic than just a simple block pattern, which I'd love to share with you.
So while you're doing that, can people from the Best Buy parking lot see anything other than the building from their lower elevation, or are they pretty much looking up a green slope?
So there's a pretty pretty thickly vegetated today, and you can see we're going to be maintaining a pretty substantive tree line buffer from that facility now. So there'll likely be very limited direct visibility to the site. I think because there is a good amount of excavation, and there is a point where this retaining wall transitions from being a cut excavation to a fill wall. So this wall actually kind of wraps around. It's going to be a little bit higher than the existing grade. But I think overall the amount of trees and forested hillside that's going to remain is going to probably limit the visibility in any substantive way.
Okay, and that retaining wall or fill wall, as you called it, would be constructed of what? Concrete?
Yes, most likely. We're going to try to incorporate as much of the excavated rock as we can from a building standpoint. But yeah, this will likely be, if we're able to construct this off of material that's kind of generated from the earthwork operations, it'd be great. But if not, it'll likely be a larger gravity type wall, concrete block wall.
So the maximum height of that wall would be, what do you think? Just, to sort of envision it.
We're looking at maximum height of that wall is likely going to be, let's see, about 20 feet, a little bit less than 20 feet.
Okay, so it's definitely visible from Best Buy at that height. Or is it visible from Route 44 as well, or you think the trees will block that view?
I mean, there's such a thick vegetation through here, and the grades drop off pretty quickly. But this area in here is pretty thickly vegetated with pretty tall trees. So even if we're having a little bit of a fill wall here, that likely won't, considering all the trees from the lower end of the slope all the way up the hill. I think a lot of it's going to be pretty well screened, especially obviously in the summer months when all those when there's a lot more deciduous tree activity.
Chris, were you able to get those 45-degree panels by chance? You're on mute. You're still on mute, Chris.
Got it. All right, Kevin, I just sent you a link. If you want to pull open
Let me pull that up.
Yep. Fortunately, the image on their website isn't the best, but so yeah, that angled metal paneling on the second story was what I was thinking of, the gray aluminum or the gray metal cladding would be on the building, which that would be the portion that's in Simsbury, and then it also extend into the Canton side of the site. But it just happens to be that this image is kind of similar in design, where it's basically a rectangular feature and then has those narrow skylights at the upper level. So I think it gives a pretty good resemblance of what the portion of the building may be, except, you know, here in this image that we're looking at, that first floor wouldn't exist in Simsbury.
Catherine, Anka, or Elaine, do you have any questions or comments as we move through this?
Can you tell I'm a bit speechless? My question for Chris is this your original design, or it's a prototype requested by the owner?
It's both, I should say. This design is the creation of a prototype that ideally would be used at other locations. Right now, this design is not used anywhere else, and we've been experimenting with this site to become the kind of the origin of the prototype.
Is the rock elevation next to 44, are you bringing that down, or is that height and steepness going to be preserved?
So we are lowering the grade from what exists out there today. So this rendering, I think, does a good job of showing what's going to be maintained. And as you drive up the road, you can only kind of see the rock facade in a couple small spots, but it does continue higher. So what we're doing is we're kind of lowering the grade down where you're still going to have a certain section of rock face that's going to remain, and then we're going to have a larger rock face behind both this building and the gas station building as well, to kind of basically move that facade from right along 44 to behind both those buildings. You know, we certainly recognize that you know, there's a certain affinity towards that trap rock and how that aesthetic is as you drive up 44. And I know the town of Canton is certainly very focused on that. So we wanted to kind of enhance that and make it more of an asset for the property even after the site's developed, to kind of highlight that as part of the project. That's why we're looking to for that wall in the back, that rock face, we're looking to try to have that be a stabilized rock face as much as possible to continue that same aesthetic.
Assume
I think
rendering, is this, no, the one that was just up.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay, I assume the road that we're on here is Albany Pike, Route 44?
Yes, that's correct. This is 44.
Can you show me like where the existing elevation of that rock is?
It's probably about here. As you can see today, when you drive up the road, it's probably about here.
Okay, thank you. That was what I was trying to picture.
Catherine, you've been pretty quiet. Is there anything you'd like to add or questions you'd like to ask?
I'm just taking it in. I mean, obviously we keep looking at the Canton part, and the Simsbury part is less exciting, for lack of a better word. But I think it's interesting. I don't have any major issues with it, considering the location of it being out on 44, where there's other box stores and things like that. I think it's kind of cool. So I'm not taking any major issues with anything that I'm seeing so far. It doesn't seem like the Simsbury part is overly visible from the street. And that's the part that we would be really able to discuss. Is that correct?
Yes. I'll answer.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I think it's great. I think it's a great business that we'd want to have in town, and our part is not that visible. I don't like losing that much of that elevation, but I guess that's up to Canton to talk to you about.
I have one additional question. Lighting and/or illumination, is there going to be any spill of lighting off-site as far as the parking areas? I know the parking area, is that a parking area in our area? Our part of the parking lot? Yeah, how is the parking area going to be illuminated?
Sure. So we have, sorry, I'm just pulling up the, so we do have light poles proposed in the parking lot. There's 2 proposed in Simsbury. Let me get that laser pointer back up. There's 1 light pole here and a 2nd light pole in the parking lot here. We did provide a photometrics plan as part of our application, and we are able to meet all the lighting requirements. The entire lighting package is designed to have dark sky compliant fixtures. So that's a recessed bulb that casts that light down to minimize any glare. It's not a visible light source, and it is dark sky compliant. We do have, we obviously modeled everything, including all the building mounted lights. There's another light pole on the right and right out driveway as you come into the site here, and another pole right in this area over the handicap parking spaces. But we are able to maintain the appropriate lighting levels, and we don't have any spillover really past the limit of our retaining wall. We're kind of hugged right through here, and we're able to drop all those light levels, so we don't have any other light source spilling out or beyond the property line or the required landscape buffers.
And will that exterior wall of the building in the Simsbury area, of course, be illuminated in any way? No, there's actually no wall packs or any lighting proposed on the southerly facade here. We do have 2 wall-mounted lights kind of on either side of the egress door for the service area. But those are just, again, wall packs that are shining down onto the parking lot to minimize glare. Okay. And then one last question, just it does relate more to the site plan. Customers coming in at night after dark, are their headlights going to hit any structures, or they're going to shine right over all the other structures? I'm just asking to make sure. I sort of assume that.
Well, so the site itself is kind of up on a plateau. So the right in, right out driveway we're proposing off of 44, this is kind of almost acting as a ramp, as a driveway, kind of to get up into the site. So these headlights, while they're going to be pointing up, they're really not going to be pointing up or beyond the height of this wall in the back. So all that light's going to be kind of centered right onto the property itself. There really won't be. We're not really concerned about any headlight glare or headlights kind of being projected off onto any of the surrounding properties, at least as it pertains to Simsbury in any substantive way.
Great. Good answer.
I have two questions, just because I'm very curious. It looks on the lower left like there'll be a light added to the property there, bottom left. So there'll be a new interchange there. Is that correct?
Yes, we are proposing a new traffic signal to service the facility. We do have we did, as part of our application materials, we did prepare comprehensive traffic impact study with the traffic signal warrant analysis. The proposed uses can accommodate that, and we have had initial conversations with the DOT about the project as well.
Okay, I'm not surprised. I just wanted to clarify. And then I'm just curious, what is the big rectangle below where the convenience store is? What is that? What is that?
So these would actually be the gas station fueling stations.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Conventional gas.
Yeah.
Old-fashioned gasoline.
Yes.
Will there be
And actually,
plug-in locations too?
There will be, and actually, so I didn't get into it too much just because this whole part of the project is in Canton, but the potential operator for this facility is very forward thinking, in that he's building these facilities with a plan for the future. And it's really very complementary to the electric vehicle showroom that we're obviously proposing to border that town line. So all of these fueling stations are being designed so that they can actually be swapped out with the rapid speed charging stations for electric vehicles in the future. Because as the technology advances, you're seeing the time needed for a full charge, for a full battery for these electric vehicles. It may come down to maybe 10 to 12 minutes. So this entire facility is really being designed to provide for a place where you can come, you can plug in your car, and then, once you're there, this facility is actually, the gas station facility is actually more than just your standard gas station convenience store, in that it's fit out so it can actually provide a couple of different components within it. So part of this, it does include a drive-through, which would be a coffee user with a drive-through. It also has a sandwich shop inside where you can go and kind of get a full sandwich Subway, or not Subway, but full sub sandwich shop inside. And then there's also an ice cream store inside the proposed facility. And what we've done is we've incorporated a pretty considerable area for outdoor seating with tables and a fire pit and some places where you can kind of come and you can pick up a sandwich, you can grab a coffee, you can then get an ice cream, and you can kind of enjoy and stay on the facility while your car is charging, or while you're getting service. We've also been able to incorporate a pretty sizable green space immediately adjacent to the charging stations for the electric vehicle showroom, where we have some additional outdoor space, some additional seating areas, things like that. And we wanted to kind of enhance that from like a lawn aesthetic standpoint, to kind of really create this as a different kind of environment. It's not we don't want anyone to think of this as your standard gas station convenience store. It's really much more of that. And we're really excited because I mentioned it, but this really is kind of the forward-thinking future of transportation and trying to prepare for what we see as an eventuality of what's really going to be coming with a little bit more of a migration away from, the traditional fossil fuels, gasoline-powered cars, really into that electrical vehicle market. And we're really excited about it.
Thank you for the explanation.
Anka, did you have anything else? I wasn't sure.
I'm very happy with the whole concept. Definitely, I'm glad all this new technology it's coming in our neck of the woods. And on the other hand, I'm even happier that it's not in Simsbury, and most of it's in Canton. So we leave it up to the Canton people to digest it and get used with this bold design. We will see how Anyway, I wish the entire team who's working on this project good luck. As I said, it's an interesting concept, and we should keep up with the progress in the car technology, even here in our neck of the woods. I like very much that terrace, the sitting space, the terrace that's above the service area, or the maintenance building, speaking of what belongs to Simsbury. So I like that idea. I hope that during the regrading and construction process, the vegetation that exists right now and that eventually and hopefully will cover that concrete block retaining wall will remain as much as possible to cover the retaining wall. And overall, as I said, I'm from our Simsbury standpoint, I just wish good luck to the entire team.
I think everyone on the board has implied a favorable view of what we've seen here tonight. Would someone like to make a recommendation that we approve the plan as presented?
I move we give a positive referral to zoning.
And a second?
Second.
And
Holly.
all those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, it's unanimous. Thank you very much for presenting to us. We appreciate it. We wish you the best, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, let's move right along. Our next application is ZC 20-11 of 22 GC 2012 LLC. Owner Chris Miller is the agent for a site plan amendment for an addition to the existing Andy's Plaza and site improvement. It's a SC-1 zone, Simsbury Center zone. Is someone here to present on behalf of the owner or agent?
I am Terry Hahn, LADA PC Land Planners, and Chris Milliard from Phase Zero Design is here as well. And Andy Andreo, representing the ownership group, is also online someplace. There. Okay, so if you let me share the screen, then I can show the plans and the images.
And Chris, I know your last name. It was a typo on the sheet. I didn't know if there was someone else. Sorry about that.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I thought, it scared me. It made me think that I spelled my last name wrong on the application.
For all these years.
Yeah.
I don't seem to have a mechanism in which to share the screen.
Laura, could you allow Terry to share?
You should be able to.
Okay. Hang on. Let's see. All right. I'm good. Okay.
There we
you
go.
guys see the screen?
Hey.
All right. So just for orientation, this is for 828 Hot Meadow Street, or known as Andy's Plaza, located just in between Phelps Lane and the Vincent's Funeral Home, and has frontage on Hot Meadow Street as well as Iron Horse Boulevard. The property is 3.75 acres. It is in the Simsbury Center zone. Technically, according to the Simsbury Center code, the SC1 is the portion facing Hot Meadow Street, and then it's SC4 facing Iron Horse Boulevard. The building is a little bit over 43,000 square feet footprint, and has an upper story facing, or a ground level facing Hot Meadow Street, and a ground level facing Iron Horse Boulevard, and has an additional 30 some odd thousand square feet facing Iron Horse Boulevard. The proposal has a couple of facets. The one and that Chris will talk about is an upgrade to the facades facing both Iron Horse Boulevard and Hot Meadow Street. And there is a small addition proposed to accommodate a drive-through restaurant, which is located in this pink section. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but you can see that pink section is approximately 300 square feet. And it enables us to reconfigure this whole side portion of Andes, which has always been sort of a loading zone, an undefined free-for-all type area, into something that's much more effective for the drive-through associated with that addition. Also, because of the way that the tenant mix is anticipated being reconfigured, there's a rear door being added towards this, where the stairs are located, that connects the upper level with the lower level, that would then accommodate a potential office user with sidewalks and a plaza associated with that entrance. In general, the overall impervious surface is reduced. We have improved, I think, the pedestrian areas off of Andes, because one of the things that has always happened is on the corner of the existing building where the old shopping center doors used to be, that area, the arcade ends, and then you have to go around the building, and that has always been kind of a blind corner for pedestrians. And the reconfiguration, I think, with the addition of sidewalks along the face of the building, sidewalk area off the side, enables the pedestrian access to be much cleaner. With the multiple tenants, you're also going to have additional doors along the front of the building. Again, Chris can talk about those, and that will sort of allow it won't be quite so location dominant for the front door than it has been in the past. Other elements of the site plan that are being changed, so you can see in this picture kind of where the focus is. So we're adding additional green space, we're reconfiguring the parking spaces, some restriping, resetting the handicap access in both areas. The other aspect here, there's some limited planting that's being proposed. That's part of it is with the realization, especially after COVID, that we might want some outdoor space. The main middle island is going to go seated to lawn, and there are existing vegetative edges along the passway and on the slope that separates the upper area from the lower area. So we have some additional planting, some shrubs that are being put in along the top of the slope, and some ornamental grasses. But I think the rest of it, the idea is to keep it sort of neat and clean. So most of that area is being seeded to lawn. The existing light poles are relatively short. They're old metal halide, or they're not really effective. And so we're looking at a similar sort of fixture that would be used. It's going LED this time, however, and we are looking at sort of increasing the overall size and adding some more light. If you've driven by this area, especially at night, it is very dark. The parking lot is dark, the side area is dark, the back is dark. And so this would allow the shopping center to have much better light levels for that. But from the site plan perspective, that's pretty much it. It's the addition, the reconfiguration for the drive-through, and then the lighting. The building component, though, I'll pass off to Chris for him to sort of go through that.
Can I ask a quick question before you move on?
Sure.
Regarding the lighting, isn't there a standard for what the town is using all along Hot Meadow?
Yes, Hot Meadow has its own standard for within the road right-of-way. However, within individual properties, it has varied fairly substantially. There have been different kind of lantern fixtures. There have been the globe fixtures. There have been some modern fixtures. It's been fairly inconsistent. Like for example, the Drake Hill Mall has a combination of more lantern style fixtures and modern fixtures in it. So it's been kind of very, like I said, rather inconsistent.
Well, these seem pretty close though, Terry Ann, right?
Well, these are what I said was so this is pretty much a match, a current match to the existing fixtures. Hang on.
Do they coordinate with those along Hot Meadow?
No, they don't. I mean, they're traditional style fixtures, but the ones on Hot Meadow, hang on, I can actually get this. Ooh. There we go. Can you see the green one here?
Yes.
That's the ornamental Hot Meadow Street fixture.
Okay, I can see like 4 different kinds right there. So,
Exactly. Okay.
Yes.
I think I made my point.
Yeah. Okay. That answers my question. Thank you.
Sure. Hang on, Chris, I'll get you to the plan. Just let me know when you want to flip.
Yep, will do. Okay, so we were obviously approached by the property owner to look and see what we can do to develop the property, to obviously bring new tenants back in, and one of the main goals was to create a tenant space that had the drive-through that Terry talked about on the site, to help accommodate that tenant in the drive-through and the way the site laid out. We added a small little addition to the building, which allowed us to create the drive-through in a location where it worked best with pedestrian travel points and vehicular travel points. So that's really the small small addition that we have done to this building. But inside the building, we're looking to break it up into multiple tenant pieces. So as you can see in this floor plan, there's a restaurant on the bottom left corner, which is intended to be a drive-through function. We have a couple retail spaces to the right of that, and then the green area, I believe, is green, is intended to be office space right now. Obviously, leases, letter of intents are still pending, and the overall mix could potentially vary, but this is the intent, at the moment of tenant mix. What we've struggled with the plan layout inside the building is making sure everyone has access to the dumpsters, which, as many of you who are familiar with the site know, that those dumpsters are at the back of the building, underneath it, along the Iron Horse side. So we created a corridor that allows customers to come in the front door to access those office spaces that may be in back, but also gives a corridor for tenants to get access to that dumpster location. None of that really affects the exterior appearance of the building, with exception of the new entrance that we want to create for those office spaces that may be located in the back of the building. You could see, these are just a couple images that I threw in there for reference if we wanted to kind of flip back to see what the building looks like right now. Obviously it's primarily a EFS veneer and brick veneer throughout. Kind of darker colors, certainly has an appearance, that it's renovated in the 80s, 90s. And what we were looking to do is refresh the facade to do exactly that, make it a fresher appearance, make it a little more pedestrian friendly, make it a little bit more inviting to residents, and inviting for people to kind of walk the center versus just kind of park your car, run in and run out quickly. So this view would be the new view as it faces Hot Meadow Street. Again, like I said, we're trying to freshen it, make it a little brighter, make it a little more lively. The appendage on the left side is the small addition that we're creating for the drive-through, so you can see the car as it would pull up to the drive-through. You can even see how we extended that walkway there up to the drive-through and set the building back, so as cars come through that drive-through, you can see the sidewalk and you're not approached with a 90-degree blind corner. That was certainly a strong design point that Terry had worked on, and I think works out really well in terms of the layout. As for the building itself, The existing building, what we're looking to do is paint the existing red brick throughout, add a new cornice around the building, replace the visible peaked roofs with new standing seam metal roofing. And then at those peaked roofs, we're introducing some paneling and some, what's the word I'm looking for? Some spandrel glass glazing, just again, to give it a little bit more open feel, a little more colonial feel, I guess, if you would go that far. Just trying to lighten it up. Right now, everything's just listed or labeled as retail until tenants are, obviously sign leases. Each tenant space will look to pull their own signage permit. But we just wanted to list that signage to give an idea of how this building facade will be broken up into multiple tenants as opposed to the current single tenant that it is today. Right now there's a concrete block base that wraps around the building. That block would remain, it would just be washed. I believe in this image, in the rendering, we're proposing that block gets a stain to darken it up. Again, just to give a little bit more contrast to the white that we're proposing on the brick. And then of course the white trim. The awnings that we're proposing over most, if not all of the retail spaces would be a fabric awning, some umbrella type awning, mixture of just black and white stripes. And then each awning has its own new light fixture or gooseneck type light fixture over the top of that, just to highlight it. The package store or Valley Super Liquors that's there is obviously going to remain. It'll just get again, same treatment to the facade where we're looking to change the roof color, paint the brick, introduce fabric awnings, and then introduce the light fixtures and potentially new signage.
And is it correct there's no change to the footprint on that side of the property?
That's correct. The only change is the small addition that we could see here in this rendering.
Kind of where the dry cleaners is now, that area?
Right. The dry cleaners, if I'm trying to remember that should be, I believe that's demolished at the moment.
Right.
It's gone.
Yeah, that's been gone since May.
Right.
Guess who's been quarantining?
You're right. So that's gone. This site plan takes advantage of that space to try to develop as many parking spaces as possible. There is a small, I don't know that I'd call it addition. What we're doing
Join the meeting.
What we're doing at the back of the building here, and you can kind of see it vaguely in this rendering, is introducing a new entrance into that office space and creating a covered entryway, and then also a little bit of a trellis to the side of that where pedestrians can utilize that outside space. That trellis will also help shield the existing roof exhaust that's coming through the ground from the restaurant below. At the back of the shops, again, more of the same with the painting, black metal roofing. What we're proposing here on the side where it says Andy Center Shops, the thought is that wall is a good wall to receive some type of mural. I guess ideally it would be exactly what we have shown here. I don't know if there's any, we haven't put a lot of thought or discussion with the client as to what that may be, or if that remains the name of the center, but we did want to show some type of graphic on that wall for a potential mural.
That might be construed as signage if you use, you know what I mean, square footage wise.
Right.
Unless you make it directional somehow. Eat here.
But let an arrow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll leave that to kind of future decision. If obviously any center shop, I can understand the reason that could be considered signage. So maybe it's more graphical instead of text worthy. The back of house, what used to be the back of house grocery store, or the space that's over the restaurant, over the dumpsters, we're looking to introduce windows to that building facade. Right now it's a flat brick wall. So those windows will help bring sunlight into the building. I think they also help kind of break up the scale of the building a little bit more, so it's not as large of a facade. And then beneath that, we're proposing new dumpster enclosures. Right now, I think it's a rolling gate that comes down. And again, we're just trying to make it feel a little more pedestrian scale with a gate, as opposed to the metal gate, a metal overhead door that would drop down in front of those. Was there any other renderings, or was that it?
There's one that the board, I want to keep it moving. I don't want to get caught up. But you do have a page 11 that shows the actual materials which are pertinent and relevant to us. If we can go to page 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this just answers for everyone on the board to review if you haven't. These are the different treatments they'll be making.
Right. So is from top down, you have the standing seam metal roof. We obviously, these are kind of small images, just for sake of trying to get it all on one sheet. Typical light fixture, PVC trim, or I guess we're calling it vinyl trim, but it'd be a PVC trim that would be painted. The fabric awning, the brick face is just painted. Storefront, where we need to replace it to accommodate new doors or new break and tenant divides. The concrete block, as I mentioned, would be cleaned and potentially stained. The new metal gates, swing gates at the loading dock / dumpster enclosures. And one thing I haven't mentioned yet is there is an existing concrete wall at the back of the building. As you're looking towards the restaurant on the right side, we were asked to provide a cladding over that wall. So we're thinking of some type of a barnwood cladding, just again to kind of lighten up that surface, so you're not faced with a concrete wall that's a story tall. And then underneath all the soffits along the colonnade, we were looking to replace the ceilings in those areas and provide new lighting.
Okay, time is starting to become of the element here. I got to be honest, I personally am impressed. A lot of bang for the buck and everything you're proposing, with a big change, at a reasonable expenditure. Board members, just so we can keep it going, Anka, you want to go first with questions and comments?
I like it very much, very much. I like the to lighten up with the white walls and lighter finishes. I like the awnings, the zebra black and white striped awnings are absolutely wonderful idea. I really welcome any effort to bring life back to this structure, to this building. And Chris Millard did a very good job. And I support them in everything they are doing there. I really do like it.
Cool. Polly, since you're the next tile in my screen, at least,
I'm excited about this. This is gorgeous, wonderful for downtown Simsbury. So thank you for all of the updating to that plaza that's been there since the dawn of time. Thank you. That's all.
Elaine?
I love the concept. I love all the renderings. The one thing I want to put out there, we're not even talking about it tonight, but spoiler alert for the future. I love on the rendering the consistency of those simple black on white signs. In fact, when finally I saw the Valley Super Liquors existing sign, I cringed and wish it was like the other ones. So I would just want to put sign consistency out there as maybe a goal, and not just whatever, everybody gets their own mismatched sign, because I love the way they look in the rendering.
Well, that's a different proposal, the sign package, and that's not our, well, it is our purview as well. So, Catherine, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so I think that I don't know if falls into our purview completely, but just a couple things that jumped out at me is if that drive-through is going to generate significant amounts of traffic and if that's being dealt with. And then also it looked like the entrance to the office space, which aesthetically I love, and bringing some life to the side of that building, I think is great. But it looked like they crossed over the drive-through traffic. And I just wanted to see if anyone thought that was going to be any kind of issue.
Yeah, you want to address that, Terry?
Sure. So a couple things. What we did was we actually extended the sidewalk over to the parking spaces. We're anticipating a relatively low number of users, probably an employee use for that side entrance, so that there is an actual sidewalk that you can come onto and walk over to the door. This is something that we struggled with quite a bit, just to make sure there was limited pedestrian crossing there. There are a few spaces that you would have to cross through, but hopefully that won't occur on a regular basis. The actual stacking queue is 14 cars, which is considered a high, not that we're anticipating that we're going to need that, but we use the highest level that DOT uses for our queue to make sure that it didn't interfere with the crossing traffic that goes, to the passway or something like that. So we were able to accommodate that much. Hopefully that occurs in limited time periods. But I think that the office use and the employee use is relatively minimal. And we tried to do the best that we possibly could to minimize that crossing of pedestrians through the queue line.
And also, not to mention it, but there is a entrance to that same office building to the right of the proposed restaurant, isn't there?
That's correct. And not only that, but you can get there from the back as well. So there are lots of alternate entry locations.
Yeah, that side entrance ideally would be reserved primarily for either employees or emergency egress. And we wanted to make sure that there was an entrance on the front of the building for that tenant, whatever they may be, again, because they're going to want signage, but also just to give them a better access from parking so they don't need to go through that drive-through.
Okay, I think we're all suitably impressed. Would someone like to make a motion for a positive referral? Bjork?
So moved.
Okay. There we go. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Exciting opportunity for everyone, and we wish you the best of luck. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a preliminary discussion as we're getting a little tight on time. I want to jump right over to that next. Chris Nelson of Nelson Construction for the redevelopment at 32 Iron Horse Boulevard. Chris, do you want to give us a rundown of where you're at?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I am Chris Nelson. I'm one of the applicants for this project, builder and developer located here in town. I recognize many of you from around town, but we're here to introduce Barber Cove, a new residential community along Iron Horse Boulevard. There's some this is informal, so we're here before you just to introduce the project and seek your input into the process. Mike, I don't control the Zoom, but could you put up packet number 1 so we could just see the site plan? But before we get going into the details, the location is 32 to 36 Iron Horse Boulevard. It's most widely recognized as the Simscroft Echo Farms construction yard. Before we get into the details, I'd like to introduce a few people from our team. Greg Ugaldi and I are the developers. We have the contract to purchase this property from the Girard family. Greg is a very seasoned and excellent builder. He's the president and Chief Legal Officer for T&M Homes. You've probably heard of them. They've done some work in town as well. Greg is also actually the past chair of our National Association of Home Builders. So he spends most of his time right now working on national issues with our national staff. But he and I have been friends for a really long time, looking to do something special. And we really both feel, well, we're excited about this project. So, you know me, I've been involved in several larger projects in town, residential, Mill Commons, Carson Way is a community we're building right now, which is a planned community, as well as Highcroft luxury rental apartment homes. And that's on Powder Forest Drive. So Allies Architecture is here as well. Greg, I'm sorry, Roz Cifalelli and Mike Singlinger, they are here. And I've worked with Mike and Roz. They've been involved in Highcroft, but we've worked for many years together. I think they're one of the best multifamily architects, well, we know, and they do great work. So they are here on the team as well. As to the site,
excuse me, Chris, could I ask one question before you go any further?
Sure.
Where's Iron Horse Boulevard?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's one block below Main Street.
No. I on the map. I know where it is in real life.
Oh, okay.
I've only lived here all my life.
It's at the bottom of the screen. I'm sorry. We haven't gotten around to doing location exhibits yet. But if you were to just put this in context, Iron Horse is at the bottom of the map or the plan. To the right is the Performing Arts Center. To the rear is a really large floodplain area looking across to the hills in the background.
So where it says the meadows at the top, that's not correct then?
No, it's not correct. I'm sorry.
That's what got me all mixed up.
No, actually, that is the meadows behind it. That's actually the open space referred to as the Simsbury Meadows.
But the Performing Arts Center meadows are to the right of it.
Yeah, but in old school terms, the meadows was it was not.
Time is of the essence here. We've only got, you know.
I get it. It's just it got me confused. Okay.
Well,
it's all good. Let's go on.
I understand we're under a deadline, so I'll just sum things a little bit. It was a construction yard. We've been doing a lot of environmental testing and figuring out what remediation needs to happen there. That work is currently underway. The remediation is. This has been a subject of the Simsbury Town Center charrette, and now the Simsbury Center Zone, and this is SC5. And I'll let Mike or Roz give you a brief update as to what the plans show. Roz?
Hi, everyone. I'm Roz Cifalelli. I'm with Allies. We'll just go right into the site. Pretty much, we're an architectural firm with a young architectural firm with about 90 years of cumulative experience. We've done a lot of work from...
Roz, could I interrupt just a second? Do we have a hard stop at 7 o'clock?
Oh.
We are going to have a hard stop at 7.
Okay,
so we have about 15 minutes to finish this thing, and we'd love their input.
Here we go. So this is the site plan. The way we had put it together was we have 5 residential buildings on site, of which there are 2 different building types. Along Iron Horse Boulevard, along the bottom, you'll have buildings A and B. There are 3-story structures, slab on grade, all residential. They house 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, studio, and some 3 bedrooms. They are essentially brick, vinyl, and PVC paneling and trim. 3-dimensional shingles. There's also in the center there's a flat portion of the roof which you won't see because we have decorative rails. That's going to house the condensing units for HVAC system. This way, what that does is it gets them off the ground. you're able to landscape better around the buildings, and it's less impact on the site. You won't have to see those condensing units. Behind those those buildings are also 3 stories. We're allowed to build up to 4 stories, but we thought that it would be best that we stay with 3 stories, and it's less of an impact on the existing site. Across Iron Horse Boulevard, we have St. Mary's, we have the school, we have lower buildings. So we're giving a streetscape. They're set back off of Iron Horse Boulevard, I guess
About 55, 60 feet.
about 55, 60 feet, so we can get enough landscaping in front. And then behind that and over to the one side, we have 3 additional buildings. Those buildings are podium type buildings. What they are 3-story residential over an enclosed parking garage. But we don't like to show the parking garage, so it's typically enclosed. You'll see brick. We carry certain elements down, mimicking the windows and the doors. Once again, same materials. We'll be doing a brick. We'd like to do 2 different colors of brick, perhaps something in a red, maybe even and on the ends, maybe gray. That helps us reduce the impression of the length of the building. We also manipulate the building. We have a lot of bumps and jogs going in and out of the building. That also helps us with the length of the building. It starts to give it some more smaller scale. Then we start to do things like bring the materials up and down along the facade. You'll see that in some of our longer elevations. We back it up one, where you'll see a full elevation. You'll see some of the brick come up, siding drops down, all that stuff, and the horizontal banding. A lot of that stuff is about reducing its height, giving less of an impression of what the height of the building is. So that's our podium building. The buildings will house 1 and 2 and studios similar. Typically they're Carter buildings with elevator. The garage will house 32 parking spaces, of which there'll be at least 2 handicap parking. You'll enter on these buildings from the entrance into the lobby. You'll also have access to the garage. Well, you can't see where I'm pointing, but there's the elevator lobby there, which would then send you up to the residential levels. On one end of each of the buildings, there'll be the overhead garage door or coiling door. These buildings are typically well lit. I also submitted some photographs of a typical garage we've done before. We've done this type of a product before. You'll have ceilings. It'll be well lit. There'll probably be motion detectors on it. And it'll be code compliant. So there'll be carbon monoxide sensors and all that. So that's the residential. The clubhouse, we're still working on the elevations. We're still playing with it, but the clubhouse plan will offer a leasing office, fitness center. There'll be different size spaces, a cafe with seating, a gathering room, which will be a larger room, but we also create smaller business rooms, little card rooms, if you will, so that you have that privacy. With everything that's changing, the way the lifestyle is changing, we have work stations at home, and some people, they'll have, what they do is they gather and we'll have meetings here at the conference in the clubhouse. So this is a chance of the clubhouse being more than just a cafe and gathering room, but it actually becomes a workplace. That will be, it'll be surrounded by different size spaces along the site. We'll have varying size open spaces. We have larger public spaces, And then we have the smaller, quieter spaces. So to the right, for instance, we call that the breakout space, to the right of the clubhouse. With that, we have an amenity building. That's the package and mailbox kiosk. We also have, to the left, we'll have the pool, and we'll have a pool house. That pool house will house a lifeguard office, some storage, and attached to that, we even have a dog wash. Following up, we have the larger gathering. We'll have chances of having some fire pits, perhaps some grill stations throughout the site. All the way over to the left, above building C, we do have a maintenance, and we also have the trash enclosure, which would have recycling bins and trash bins. We'll have a dog run up in the upper corner there, but that may be relocated. We're thinking about whether we're going to do a tot lot. It's a possibility. Right now, the parking there's less impact on this site. What we chose to go with the podium type building so that we could start to take some of the parking away, the surface parking away from the site, so we get more greenery on the site. So now we have 96 enclosed under the enclosed parking garage, 96 spaces. And then we have the rest of the parking that's required. And we're parking about 1.7 parking spaces per unit. So that's just above what the minimum requirement is. I believe it's like 1.6.
Ross, if I could interrupt you a minute, because I'd like to hear from them, but a couple of the key concepts here. The Simsbury Center Zone 5 actually gives us guidance. It looks like we're putting buildings along Iron Horse. They're relatively large, but the zone is asking for 70% of the property frontage to be covered with building. We're actually running about 63% right now. It also wants the buildings pulled forward close to the road. Now, there's a couple of ways to approach that, and we'd love to hear your comments. But one of the things we did recognize is that we do have the floodplain and wetlands behind, and if we can put a really big green in the back and pull the development forward, that's fantastic. The other thing we can do is we're bringing the walking path, which is an extension of the rails to trails, and would have public easements on it all the way around the site, which was one of the key features that the charrette really thought was important. So without taking any more time, I know this was a very abbreviated presentation that didn't go at all as we intended, but this is what we're putting forward. I really would ask you to read the narrative that was put in with this and look at this when you can and give us whatever feedback. And I'm sure Mike will arrange other times for us to discuss this. But comments?
So the first one that comes to mind, just so I'm clear on what's going on with the multi-purpose event fields, those aren't floodplain. That's buildable land technically.
Yes, that's correct. That's all buildable. And maybe some of you saw the charrette guidance with single family, duplex, 3-family, and apartment buildings all kind of meshed into the one development. It covered every inch of ground. And what we were trying to do is create more greenery, get away from that area and really look at the vistas and also do something that is marketable. And this is a product, this is going to be a very sought after luxury rental, although Greg and I are firmly committed to having some workforce housing incorporated into this. So we will work through the details with Mike on that.
So do you foresee caring for these event fields, or are they just going to be wild?
We would come back probably with ideas, but no, they would be lawn in possibility. There may be some drainage retention areas in there built into that. We haven't gotten to the civil engineering side of this yet, but it would be a combination of things. But we would like to use that as recreation space of one sort or another. It could be gardens for the residents. but we want public access back there, so we're going to keep that very nice.
Okay, so you wouldn't consider putting those fields in the front of the development? I know they want the building up front, and I agree with that, because it cloaks your parking area, but it's such a nice field, it's almost like you're hiding it behind everything.
Well,
So
we
anyways,
certainly-
that's just my input. I don't want to get caught up on me. Let's go to the
Join the
building
meeting.
design, because that's really where we're going to be able to give you some feedback that's relevant.
Sure.
Anka, not to pick on you, but you usually have great insight on this. Catherine, you do too, and Polly and Elaine. I don't mean to pick anyone, but Anka, you got anything that comes to mind, knee-jerk, that you can give them for feedback or question?
I know you ran out of time. I want to ask Mike, this site came a few years ago for development, right, Mike? We did see this location a few years ago.
So you saw a very different preliminary plan that Mike Gerard presented to the various land use commissions.
Exactly. Yeah, it was okay. So it's the same site, but now it's
It's
a
the same
different
site.
developer. It's Mr. Nelson and his team who's developing it. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
But and as Chris said, he's working with the charrette and the regs to kind of develop something that's consistent with the goals.
Join the meeting.
Yeah. You see, it's very hard for me. I am biased for sure, because personally, I always thought that Simsbury has enough multifamily rental structures. Probably everybody else disagrees. So first of all, me personally, I have to, accept the idea that this piece of land will be developed again, overdeveloped, I would say, overbuilt.
Yeah, but don't go down the rabbit hole.
High-rise, very big, massive structures.
Right. Have
So
they done
that's
what
my
they can to
opinion.
dwarf it?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, it's okay. We're really running out of time here.
Yeah, you're on.
Is there anything as
So
far as
maybe-
how they've attempted
Exactly.
to
So
dwarf
maybe
those?
listening to my opinion probably is not relevant at this point, because it's not a very positive one, if you got it. Okay.
All right. Well, that's great. I'd like to hear
Just
from
a quick
everyone else
comment.
too, though.
I have a
Who
quick
wants to
comment.
go?
Do we have
Go ahead.
time? A quick comment. I just think that it's okay what you've shown, but I feel like it just looks like all the others. And if there was an opportunity to give it some uniqueness while still fitting in with the town, since we have to have something like that, I would be in favor of seeing something that makes it a little bit more unique and a little bit less looking like all the other units that we've seen pop up around town.
Okay, Polly, you got anything quick?
I appreciate what Stephen said about the green space. There was another proposal a few months ago where there was no green space at all, and that was upsetting because it was just concrete and windows. And I think it's very important to maintain the green, the green-looking way of Iron Horse Boulevard and the neighborhood. So that's my thought.
Elaine?
I see that you guys are really playing towards the charrette. I do agree 100% with Catherine, though. It would be nice to see something a little more distinctive and with a little more flair that maybe mimics our existing historic buildings. This just looks identical to Highcroft to me. So maybe I would rather see a design that echoed our existing town center a little bit more. But I do see the logic, charrette-wise, of having the buildings up by the edge of the road, kind of to make it a more pedestrian downtown. So I get that part of it, but like Catherine, I'd like to see more distinctive design.
Yeah, and we do like. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we did some studies and some elevations that had flat roofs to bring in more of an urban feel, and getting a few responses to that. We looked at it and said, no, even though it is different than the other apartments or buildings, is that something you'd like to take a look at?
I'm thinking more like the sandstone building, the color of like the town hall building.
Okay.
More of the Simsbury sandstone look is, I think, what Elaine might be thinking.
One of the things we try to ask you to do is take your cues from the neighboring buildings, which Polly has hit on. that redstone or sandstone, whatever it is prevalent throughout the town. And if you could just throw in little accents, it helps braid the downtown area together by pulling on those cues. We're pretty much out of time. I am so sorry that we ran this far up to it. Is there any quick question or comment, a closing comment, Chris? I'm so sorry, but we do have to end here.
Well, Greg, why don't you sum it up?
Yeah, could you please, and as Chris said, we're certainly looking at the affordability of this, and we're going to try and build in some nice workforce housing for you, too. One of the things that would be so helpful, if you think and can gather thoughts, any more opinions, please email them. Probably the easiest is to email them to Chris, and we'll coordinate and put some thought into this and come back to you with our thoughts. Tonight we feel a little bit rushed, but I think that there's some really nice aspects of this, and I think we'll pull it together nicely for you all.
Great, thank you. Mike, can we actually do that, or do we have to be in the public purview?
So why don't we do this? If members take the next, we meet in 2 weeks. Let's digest what you saw tonight and email your comments directly to me. I'll compile a list and share it with Greg and Chris prior to our next meeting.
Okay, we can download them to our computer and print them out. That's what I've done. It's just a lot easier to get your head around it. So I hate to rush, but we are up against the wall. I'm going to make the motion myself to adjourn this evening. Thank you, everyone. I'm sorry for the rushed nature. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Good night.